Welcome back to the John Malone Show. It is Monday, August the 22nd. Have you watched any of these police audit videos? They're all over YouTube, and I've become fascinated with them over the past couple of months. And what it is essentially citizens just out asserting their rights. You know, they're out auditing the police, or they're auditing businesses to see if they'll let them film, you know, on on public property, you know, to see if they'll be challenged on their First Amendment right, you know, freedom of the press or whatever. And I've seen a lot of these channels. There's a few, and I'll bring up their names in a little bit, that I highly recommend. I think they do a really good job at what they do. But if you've not seen what police audit videos are about, I'm going to play this video clip for you here.
Well, is it constitutional right, or is it baiting law? And we're talking about people recording police on their own turf.
They call themselves First Amendment auditors, and sometimes these encounters are confrontational. Daniel Warmeth does a lot of these videos. He recently sat down with News 4 Investigates. Luke Moretti reports.
Can I help you?
See the sign.
Get your hands.
See the sign.
On behalf of the Erie County family, thank you, Kate, for your coordinateness and for public service.
You need to leave the area.
I went into it thinking maybe 35% of them might have had a bad ego or might have come across as a jerk. And after doing it, I'd say that number is probably around 75%.
Daniel Warmeth is on mission.
So you were in a restricted area. Now I want your identification.
You're not getting it.
Embarrass me. I told him, don't embarrass me.
He's testing the limits of constitutional protection under the First and Fourth Amendments.
Yeah, I'm working on a story, got to get a little information in.
His YouTube channel, Auditing Erie County, has nearly 20,000 subscribers. His videos get thousands of views and hundreds of comments.
It's respect law enforcement completely.
Warmeth travels the region with a cell phone camera, documenting encounters with police on their own public turf.
They don't own property. It's public property.
From Amherst.
Get your hands off me.
Over here.
Get your hands
you
off
want
me.
to see the sign.
To Dunkirk.
Am I being detained?
You're not being detained right now.
To Cheektowaga.
Do you want to leave or do you want to get arrested?
To Salamanca.
You don't need to take pictures inside the vehicles.
Why not?
Because
A lot of people say, I can't believe you do this. You got a target on your back. I can't believe that, you know, aren't you afraid that they're going to mess with you?
Warmeth will show up at municipal locations and start recording with his phone. He calls it an audit, a concept that's spreading across the country. Not surprisingly, his presence prompts questions, even suspicion, like his visit to the town of Amherst Police and Court Complex.
We certainly have a responsibility to keep our composure.
Warmeth felt that he was within his legal right to access and record outside of the complex, but police challenged him.
It says restricted area.
This public property over here is not restricted access. There's no sign.
It says restricted area.
Warmeth later called town supervisor Ryan Culpa, and Culpa called him back.
Because a lot of times, you know, a mayor or supervisor or chief, they're not going to call you back.
If they're in a private area, right, you know, if they were in a locked or secure area, if they were inside a secured office environment, that would be a different animal. But if they're in public space, then, you know, they're residents or citizens that, you know, have the right to be there.
The U.S. Capitol on January 6th of last year was not among the places Warmeth had a right to enter, according to the U.S. Justice Department. Warmeth was arrested and charged with knowingly entering or remaining in any restricted building or grounds without lawful authority. Federal court papers included photographs of him at the Capitol that day. Warmeth declined to talk specifically about the case against him because it's still pending.
Nobody's ever brought it up on an audit or nothing. I'm sure they know.
These days, he's busy focusing on auditing local municipalities, mainly police agencies. And he isn't alone. There are others with similar YouTube channels.
Really want is for you to engage with them and to make.
Across New York State, police are on to this unique social movement. Patrick Allen is the executive director of the New York State Association of Chiefs of Police.
You need to have an understanding of how to react to somebody doing that to you, and understand that the best thing that you can possibly do is just not engage with them.
Daniel Warmus of Auditing Erie County says he tries to keep his encounters as professional as possible. He believes there is a credibility component at stake on both sides of the camera for him and his audience, and the police being tested.
I would consider it investigative journalism. I'm investigating whether the towns or the police departments are going to respect my First Amendment rights to record in public. I want to highlight good police officers. That's my goal. I'm out there to highlight good police officers, but on the aspect of, am I out there to embarrass them? I would much rather use humility.
If you just help me out and tell me who you are, who you're working for, whatever you're doing, maybe this will go a little better. But this is just a random guy taking pictures of police cars.
Is it illegal?
I didn't say it was illegal, but it's strange.
For police, it's really a training issue to make sure that you don't engage with these folks. If they're legally in a place where they're allowed to be and they're recording, just let them do it.
Daniel Warmus and others who do these First Amendment audits say they have a right to test police when it comes to their restraint and knowledge of the Constitution. And while it's ruffling some feathers here in Western New York and across the country, there's a social media audience out there with a big appetite for more. Luke Moretti, News 4.
So, what can we gather from this? This is a good thing this is happening, right? We should have people out there challenging. So this is a good thing that this is happening, right? We should have people out there challenging. You know, this is good trouble. How they're doing it, though, sometimes is questionable, because I've got several videos where I talk about the police, and when the whole topic of defunding the police came up, I gave my thought and I gave some solutions on what we could be doing with the police departments to have them become, better, to have them work better with the community and to gain public trust back. So when I see some of these videos, I applaud a lot of these guys, but then there are a few of them, their tactics are a little questionable. Now, this is just my feelings on this, right? This is my opinion. And these people have a constitutional right to do what they're doing. And that's what they're challenging, right? They're checking to see if somebody's going to trample on their rights. But there's, in my opinion, a good way and a bad way to do this. And most of these guys do a really good job. There's a father and son, Jason and Ben, and they have Watching the Watchman and the Amigasante Press. I guess it's a town in New York. They've named their YouTube channel after. And they do a really good job. They're very articulate. They speak very clearly and concisely. They challenge businesses more than they challenge the police as to whether or not they can film on public property, right? So a lot of people will come out of restaurants, come out of businesses, and confront them and ask them, what are they doing? And they say they really don't tell them at the beginning, right? Because you'll have to watch some of their videos. I'll leave links down in the comment or in the description section of where to find some of these channels. But they do a really good job because they want their organic response. So they don't immediately tell people what they're doing because they're just out there filming. They want their natural response. And the majority of it is just, curiosity. What are you doing? Why are you filming me? You can't film me. And a lot of people have a misunderstanding of their own rights, that they think that it's illegal to be filmed. You can film anything your eyes can see, you can film with a camera, right? That's what the Supreme Court has pretty much, come out and said. In fact, that's not pretty much what they said. That's exactly what they said. So even I have to check my verbiage and what I say. I have to speak clearly and concisely and articulate. And so whenever I hear people say, well, kind of, or sort of, or essentially, when it comes to these matters, we want to deal in facts. And the fact is that you can film anywhere as long as it's on public property, right? Like if you're on a sidewalk that's owned by the city. So if a business owner comes out and tells you they demand you to stop filming, They can't do that. They're trampling on your First Amendment right. So I love how these videos are done. Some of them are done very well. And like I said, you've got people that are very articulate. They do it professionally. And then unfortunately, there's a lot of doofuses who are copycatting these people. And to me, I feel like they're making the situation worse because they really don't know their rights. They don't know the Constitution. They don't speak articulate. And you know, and you'll find many, many videos of these people on YouTube. You can just look up police audits, you know, and they challenge authority with not even really knowing what they're doing. And I think of the scene from Batman where the guys are in the garage and they ask Batman, what gives you the right to do what you do versus what we're doing? And he says, I'm not wearing hockey pants. Right. So it's kind of like, I've been trained. Like I ate a purple flower and was trained by a bunch of ninjas. So you guys weren't, right? You're all fat and out of shape wearing hockey pants. And so when I look at people like, you know, Jason, there's channels out there, Audit. The Audit does a really good job of grading police camera footage and audit footage from auditors. And will, you know, they do it fairly. So even if the auditor is doing a bad job or the person in the police video footage, because a lot of this isn't just being, you know, audits. Some people like Audit the Audit and We the People University, their YouTube channel. And that gentleman's a former sheriff, I think sheriff and police officer. And so he looks at things more of like from a cop's perspective or a former police officer's perspective and lets you know this is what's going on. This is why they're doing this, and explains more of like the legal side as well as Audit the Audit. And they will even give people a failing grade, you know, on the other side of it. So not necessarily the cops, but how could the citizen could they've responded better than they did? So I love seeing this. I love seeing change. I love solutions. I like being a part of the solution instead of being a part of the problem. And I have hope in humanity when I see people out there doing good things, right? They're trying to create change. They don't just bitch and moan about things. They actually get off their feet, you know, get off their butt and do something, right? So they walk the walk. They're not just talking the talk. And I applaud that anytime I see that. So Jason and Ben with their two channels, like I said, it's the Amigasante Press and Watching the Watchmen. And I might be butchering that, Jason, so I'm sorry. But again, I'll leave links to their channels below. But it's interesting to see how people, you know, want to actually do something, right? Because so many of us will just go straight to social media and whine and complain about something, whether it's politics or the news or whatever, and they don't institute change. So to me, those people are just being part of the problem. But when I see some of these people that are amateurs or just don't have a complete, full understanding of what they're trying to do, and there are many of these out there, unfortunately, they cause a bigger problem because they're just upsetting the police, right? So now if the police have an encounter with one of these auditors, like early in the morning, and they set them off and it sets the tone wrong for them throughout the rest of the day, guess who they're going to take that out on? The rest of us, right? So there's a certain amount of poking the bear, you know, like, why are you doing this if it's just going to, you know, provoke a negative response? Like, how can you do this? Can you do this better? I've seen so many of these videos where they show about whether it's illegal or not, or constitutional or not, to have DUI checkpoints. And you get these people who have understanding of the Constitution, and when they pull up and the officers ask them for their ID, right? Because you do not have to show your ID unless the police suspect you of a crime, right? That's like out on the sidewalk. I'm not sure how this works in a car. You know, I know when the police pull you over for a traffic violation, the first thing they ask you for is your driver's license and registration and proof of insurance, right? So I think you have to hand that to them. If anybody out there knows anything that I'm not saying, leave a comment down below if I'm getting any of this wrong. Because I've done some research, and there's certain states where this is clear, some states it's not clear. It just depends on where you're at. Steve Lato in his channel, Lato on the Law, has a great video about this, and he points out the 10 states where it is illegal for the states because the state constitution, the state Supreme Court decided that that it's not constitutional to have these DUI checkpoints, that it violates people's Fourth Amendment. Right? Illegal search and seizure. So you cannot just pull somebody over to see if they're drunk, right? Because you catch 2 possibly, but you've stopped 186 people, right? And police don't have the right to just detain you for no reason. And again, like I'll put down links down here to these channels, and they've got all kinds of great information that will keep you better informed. Because over the last couple of years, I've had a complete misunderstanding, of what I thought police's responsibilities were, and what laws were laws or what were thoughts. Right? Because so many people will say something and they say, "Oh, I think this is this thing. I think this is harassment if I get in somebody's face, and start screaming obscenities at them." Well, is it or isn't it? Different states have different opinions on these things. Can you carry a gun in your car? In some states you can, in some states you can't. So if you're in Tennessee and you're driving into Kentucky, or you're at the top of the state, and somehow you end up in Kentucky, you didn't mean to be, but that highway just goes through Kentucky for a little bit. Once you're into that state, if they have to where it's against the law to have a gun in your car, and you just get pulled over at that 1 mile stretch of road, right? Maybe it's just 1 mile stretch of road. And you're on a highway. You think you're in Tennessee the whole time, right? But there's these little boundaries where you might be in another state. Let's say you just get pulled over in that little 1 mile stretch for, going 5 miles an hour over. If you have a gun in your car, are you now committing a federal crime? You didn't mean to. You thought you were in Tennessee, right? So this is these questions of, what is law, what is not law, and then what happens at that point, right? You didn't intend to, right? You didn't have malicious intent. So are they more likely to, hey, this happens all the time, this one stretch of road, we totally get it? Or are you going to have these states in these cities and counties where the police know this, and they set up road traps and they try to entrap people, right? Because they're trying to make money off of tickets. And that's what we as citizens are sick and tired of. We'd rather they just say, hey, we know you didn't mean to, when they built this road and the boundaries and this, that, and the other, right? We would rather that be the case. And so my takeaway from a lot of this is when I see these businesses where, they're calling the police on these auditors and stating, or let's just imagine you're one of these business people and somebody's outside of your business filming with a camera, that when you call 911, I'm thinking that this is where the police should be more proactive. And maybe they're doing this, maybe they're not. Again, I don't know. If you know of this, if you know that they are or are not, leave me a comment down below. Leave me links to videos that you might have found that show these things, because I want to know. I want to be better educated. But when that business calls 911 and they say, 911, how can we help you? Well, there's somebody outside of my business filming with a camera. Okay. This is where it seems to stop. And they say, I feel uncomfortable. These guys are out here. I don't know who they are. And then they send the police out. I'm like, this is a waste of resources. Why are these 911, phone banks not doing a little bit more investigating? Because to me, I think that what they should do, and here again, this is part of the solution, right? So a business calls and says, hey, yeah, I've got a couple of guys outside filming outside of my business. I don't feel comfortable. I don't know why they're out there. I've went out and talked to them. They won't talk to me. Well, sir, are they on your property? Well, no, they're on the sidewalk. Okay, well, that's not your property. Well, yeah, it is. I own this building. It's on this corner. It's on wherever. Yeah, again, but sir, that is easement, right? This is, city property. This is public property. This is not part of your business. As long as they don't walk onto like your lot or come into your door, they have a constitutional right to be out there and they can do whatever they want, right? Because whatever their eyes can see, a camera can see, so they can film anything that their eyes can see. Right? If there's a 6-foot fence, they can't peer over, right? But if it's a 2-foot fence and whatever's in public view, you can film. So my curiosity, or what I'd like to know, is why aren't most police stations passing this off to 911 centers to start handling this and be more proactive on the front end, so they can make very clear whenever somebody calls in, yeah, we're not coming out for that. We're not going to waste our resources. If all they're doing is filming and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, well, they just seem suspicious. Well, suspicious is not illegal, So you know, a lot of this could be resolved by just more education for the police, because the amount of times that the police show up and they don't know the law, yet they've sworn to uphold the Constitution, and they don't seem to understand it. Every citizen, are we getting to the point to where the answer is going to be this? I think so. I think these auditors, I think the police, I think almost everybody should have a copy of the Constitution in their pocket. Right? When I see these auditors that roll up, or the police roll up on them, that's what they should pull out first. And then the police might go, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. We're about to violate this guy's rights. If you get pulled over on a traffic stop, you know, for nothing, or one of these DUI stops, and they're trying to ID you, they say, can I have your ID? I would hand them that Constitution first. Oh, that's right. We don't have the right to identify you. Or just even on the street, on the sidewalk, you know, if the police, if you're just standing somewhere and the police, you know, say, hey, what are you doing here? Can I have your ID? And they know that they're not supposed to do that. Maybe they've forgotten. You pull out your pocket Constitution. And I've got links, so I'm going to put links into where you can buy these. They're super cheap. You can get them from Amazon and other places. They're like $2, $3, $5. I'd keep one in my purse if you're a lady. I'd keep one in my pocket if you're a guy. I'd keep one on my dashboard or my glove box at all times. It seems like that's what we're going to have to do, right? If we want our rights protected, shouldn't we carry them with us? You carry your license with you. You carry your credit cards with you. So we should almost all have that on us at all times. Sad that we have to go this route. But again, proactive versus reactive. What are your thoughts on this? Because there's two parts of me. I enjoy these videos on YouTube because they're educational. And then there's just the dumpster fire version, where it's literally a comedy, watching some of these to see how insanely the police behave, how insanely, you know, private citizens behave, you know, where Jason and his son Ben will just be outside of a post office, just filming. You know, they're going from town to town, so they're also tourists, and they're checking out these quaint towns and looking at the buildings and the architecture and things like that. They're documenting that. All right. So they're just doing like, you know, random, normal, everyday stuff. And then always somebody comes out. What are you doing? Why are you out here? Well, why do you want to know? Well, because I'm curious. Why is it most people's default setting is curious? And I love Jason, you know, is always saying something about how curiosity kills the cat. That's kind of true, right? I mean, we all have a right to be curious, but why is that our default setting? Is it 9/11? Is that turned all of us into having to be super hyper vigilant all the time? We didn't used to be this way. And Jason talks about that a lot, that he's doing this because whenever he leaves this earth one day, he wants to leave it better for his kid, you know, and then his grandchildren and so on and so forth. We all want that, right? We should. So I like a lot of these guys. I think they're really doing a great job, but there are some that are really just kind of making it even worse. Because if you're just doing something organically and it causes police interaction and they're being jerks, that's one thing. But some of these guys are really provoking the police. They'll go to the police station parking lot and start filming, you know, the employees' license plates. And their argument is, well, the police record, you know, cars all the time and have these cameras built on in front of squad cars that can capture license plates. So if you can do it to us, we can do it to you. That's a little poking the bear. If it were more organic and you were just out in the parking lot filming the building, I'd say you really don't have a problem. But at what point do you then become the instigator? And you're now messing with these people's rights, even though they're police, right? And you've got an issue with them. I don't think they're all evil. I don't think they're all idiots. I don't think they're all anything. I don't think anybody's all anything. And I don't know what the percentages are. I don't know how many bad apples there are. And that's why I'm saying not all auditors are messing things up. There's a handful. There might be a couple of handfuls. Are there any of these channels that you like that I've not seen? Send me their links in the comments down below, because I'm always wanting to learn. I'm always wanting more information. And if there's a couple of clowns out there, send those to me too. If there's any that you enjoy, that you laugh at, because some of these people I just have to laugh at. It's disheartening. I wish they would do a better job, because even in some of Jason's old videos with him and his son, their tactics, they were just kind of learning. They're just kind of feeling their way through how they're doing these things, and how they speak. His complaint has completely changed over the last couple of years. They've gotten better. Practice makes perfect, right? So they have down specific things that they respond. They'll say a specific thing, and they say that all the time, which is good for them, right? You don't want to keep changing it up, and then you're tripping over your words. So they do a really good job of how they approach things. When they're approached, how do they approach things? And they're consistent. And that's what I like about them. They have consistency. Because I've seen a few of their videos where like a lady comes out and says, what are you doing? And Jason says, I can't say. Well, yeah, you can. Jason shouldn't have used the word can't. You can say, I don't want to say. Right. And this is where now their curiosity goes even higher. What do you mean you can't say? Because if that was like the News 5 news crew out there in a news van with a cameraman and a reporter, outside of these businesses, most people wouldn't think two things about it, right? But remove the news van, remove the reporter and the cameraman, and it's choose two guys with a camera doing the exact same thing. Why does that raise curiosity? Why does that raise suspicion? I guess that's a lot of people's default setting. I'm one of those people that I would walk just right by. I wouldn't give it two thoughts. I'm not the Gladys Kravitzes of the world. If any of you know who that is, that's the nosy neighbor from Bewitched, the old TV show. And she, to me, just sticks out when people call these people Karens. Well, to me, they're the Gladys Kravitz, just the nosy neighbor. And that's what these people are. They say curious when they mean nosy. So what are your thoughts on this? We need this. We need more of this, right? Because things are starting to slowly change. Things are getting better, right? The police are doing better. We saw in that news report, that some of these police stations are trying to change things. But then they're the ones that are just getting the warnings out to their officers to not interact. So what, we're going to still behave badly as soon as this person leaves? That's my fear. Like, we need institutional change, not change whenever somebody's coming to do an audit, right? So you're only on your best behavior then. You be on your best behavior all the time. And that's how we fix policing. So by these people policing the police, and all of us talking about this, is how we get this to change for all of us. What are your thoughts? Leave a comment down below. I'll put these links in the description where you can buy the Constitution. And there's these little small versions that just fit in your pocket or your purse or wherever, your jacket, backpack, anywhere. I'd keep one on me all the time. I just ordered 2 today. So I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm going to have these things on me all the time. But leave me a comment down below. And again, if you enjoy my content, please make sure to hit the like, subscribe, share button. That way we can keep having this conversation, get this out, share it with your friends, so we can keep having these conversations and create change. All right, we'll talk to you next time on the John Malone Show.